Welcome to Scrum Masters Elite _UK. Sign up to get updates on inspiring sports stories and life lessons.
The 23-year-old winger of the Springboks team. He has only played once for the national team, making his debut in a match against Wales in November 2024. A milestone that any player would dream of, especially when it's for a traditional powerhouse like the Springboks. Yet, just as the door to the national team began to open, he faced the biggest setback of his career, a serious knee injury during the United Rugby Championship semi-final victory over the Sharks in June of the previous year. I think what weighs most heavily on me is the irony of the timing. He was on an upward trajectory, having just achieved his dream of joining the national team, and was performing impressively at the club level. Yet, an unfortunate collision caused him to miss the entire 2025 international season. In professional sports, time is the most valuable asset. A year without playing at the 23rd of May not be the end, but it certainly feels like a long pause filled with pressure when I hear him recount the moment of the injury, seeing Vincent Shituka being fouled. Realizing the opportunity to steal the ball, and then charging in with the instinct of a player always eager to create an advantage for his team, I not only see his fighting spirit, but also his dedication.
The collision with Sia Kolisi caused his left heel to get stuck in the ground. The force was so great. The sound was likened to the crack of a gunshot. He couldn't hear it clearly because he was screaming in pain. These details paint a vivid picture of the brutality of rugby, where the line between glory and tragedy can be a matter of a split second. I deeply feel that, in that moment, he wasn't thinking about the risk. He was only thinking about the team. That's the essence of a top athlete. A reflex for the collective, placing the greater good above personal safety. But it's this very quality that makes them most vulnerable. I paid special attention to the coach's caution when talking about his return. He admitted to being a little worried when setting a specific timeline. This reflects a valuable lesson in personnel management and injury recovery: don't rush. The past 2 weeks have seen good progress, but he emphasized the need to build endurance, contact skills, and rugby technique, and not to rush as the finish line draws near. I completely agree with this approach. In sports, fans often grow impatient.
We want to see our idols back immediately, but the human body doesn't operate on the emotions of the crowd. Setting realistic goals, such as aiming for matches against Cardiff or Munster at Loftus Field, is the responsible way forward. The Bulls are entering a critical phase of the season with a packed schedule and significant pressure. However, rushing a player back too soon could lead to a relapse, something far more dangerous. I also think a lot about the psychological aspect. A young player who has just tasted the experience of the national team, only to be sidelined for many months. He's not only fighting physical injury but also the self-doubt. Can he return as strong as before? Will the coaching staff still believe in him? Will the opportunity to wear the Springbok jersey remain open? The fact that he was still called up to the training camp for the national team shows that faith has not been lost. In my opinion, that's the most powerful message. Trust from the system, from the coaches, is sometimes just as important as any recovery exercise.
I've also learned a very practical lesson from this story. Things don't always go according to plan. Initially, the return was set for December. Then it passed. By March, he still wasn't ready to play. In my own life, there have been many goals I set with specific deadlines, only to push them back due to uncontrollable factors. If we only look at the delays, we might feel discouraged. But if we focus on the process, even if slow, we see that perseverance is what truly matters. What I respect most here is patience. The coach didn't make unrealistic promises. The player didn't make bold declarations. Everything was spoken with consideration and honesty. In a high-level sports environment, where the media is always chasing news, this level of frankness creates a sense of trust. I've also learned a lesson about the fragility of success. Just one semi-final match, one seemingly ordinary contest, took away an entire international season. That reminds me that when you're at the top, you must cherish every opportunity.
No one knows what will happen next. I believe that if he returns during the matches against Cardiff or Munster, it won't just be a tactical addition to the Bulls, but also a significant mental milestone. Returning from injury always carries a special energy, both cautious and determined. And if he truly becomes a regular under Rassie Erasmus in the future, this journey will be even more memorable. I don't view this injury as just an unfortunate accident. I see it as a test for the body, for the spirit, for the trust of the team, and for the patience of the fans. If he overcomes it, he won't just return as a player, he'll return as a more mature person. I also wonder, if I were in his position, would I have the calmness to accept missing an entire season? Would I have the patience to do the same rehabilitation exercises day in and day out? Would I have the faith to wait for the chance to return? In my work and life, when facing a metaphorical injury, failure, delays, missed opportunities, can I learn not to rush, not to push myself too hard, and focus on the recovery process? For the Springboks fans, I think his return, if it goes smoothly, will come at the right moment, just as the international season approaches.
But whether it's Cardiff, Munster, or even later, the most important thing is long-term sustainability. A career lasting 10 years is worth far more than a rushed match. I believe that the gunshot-like sound in the moment of injury won't define his career. Instead, it may become a memory of a turning point, a place where he learned how to come back stronger. I close my thoughts with cautious optimism. Sports always carry risks, but also the opportunity for rebirth. If he maintains the humility, patience, and hunger he showed in that fateful play, I believe the future remains bright. And for me personally, the greatest lesson is this: success is not just measured by the number of games played or titles won, but by how we rise after the hardest falls.
Scrum Masters Elite _UK bids farewell. Belief that the South Africa national rugby union team will come back stronger after the challenge.